In this Demon Souls build guide, I'm going to be showing you my homing Soul Samurai build, which is a variant of my Soul Samurai build that uses magic in addition to the Uchigatana. If you've been looking for a good hybrid build that uses magic but also dishes out respectable damage with your weapon, then you might want to check out this build. The homing Soul Samurai build was inspired by my Soul Samurai build. A lot of players were disappointed that the original build was a dex-based build and didn't use magic, and now I've rectified this by providing a magic-based alternative. The way this build works is that it uses buffs like protection and the spell Homing Soul Arrow to enhance its combat capabilities, while dealing a solid amount of damage with the Crescent Uchigatana. The Crescent Uchigatana scales with the magic stat, and you'll need a lot of magic to make your Homing Soul Arrow and other spells hit as hard as they can, so this is a deadly combination. This build was designed specifically with PvP in mind, however it can work effectively in PvE as well, since Homing Soul Arrow deals incredible damage, even if you're not set up as a pure mage build. Simply use Homing Soul Arrow when you need to kill a tough enemy, and then take care of the easier ones with the Uchigatana or something like Soul Ray. Homing Soul Arrow is absolutely deadly in PvP combat because if you connect with all the arrows, then it's usually a one-shot kill, and even if you don't connect with them all, even a few can often kill a player. Many players don't know how to handle this spell when it's been used properly against them, and it works exceptionally well at dealing with players who are trying to ambush you hidden around a corner since the spell has better reaction time than you do. The starting class I've chosen for this build is Royalty because it comes with high magic, decent dexterity which is needed for the Uchigatana, and some items that make casting easier early on in the game like Fragrant Ring. However, Magician is also a strong choice since it has more intelligence and higher magic. The choice is up to you here, but either of these will work fine. The stats you need for the Homing Soul Samurai build are magic, intelligence, and a good amount of vitality. Magic is very important to this build not only because it increases the damage with your spells in Crescent Uchigatana, but also because it increases the number of projectiles fired with the Homing Soul Arrow spell. You'll hit 5 total arrows, which is the maximum you can have at 31 magic. So be aiming to get there as quickly as you can in order to reach your full potential with this spell. Intelligence is needed to have a larger mana pool and also increase the number of spells you can have equipped. This is very important because more powerful spells like Homing Soul Arrow take up more than one slot, and you'll need a few different spells for different situations. Vitality is needed because you'll be wearing medium armor at best, and you'll take a good amount of damage if struck. Higher vitality helps offset this, increasing your chances of survival. Additionally, invading as a Black Phantom will change your character tendency to pure black eventually, at which point you'll have even less HP. Your stat spread should look something like this. 12 strength is needed to two-hand the Uchigatana effectively, as is 13 dexterity, so make sure you have that by the time you acquire the Uchigatana. 30 intelligence will give you 5 spell slots, of which Homing Soul Arrow will take 2. 30 vitality is the point you start seeing diminishing returns, so stopping there is good for your first game cycle. One of the benefits of the Homing Soul Samurai build is that it can use magic or attack in melee. This gives it some advantages that melee builds and mage builds don't really have. As long as you have a decent selection of spells to choose from, you should always have something for every situation. For instance, you can buff before Flame Lurker with Water Veil, or use Flame Toss on Leechmonger who is very weak to fire damage. There are lots of options here, so experiment with spells and use them to your advantage when you need them, and melee the rest of the time. Take some time to learn the moveset of the Uchigatana two-handed, as you won't be one-handing it unless you're casting a spell. The running R1 attack is extremely good and has very long reach, allowing it to hit enemies or players from a safe distance. The same is true of the step back R1, which dodges and then runs forward with a thrust. Also note that you'll deal exceptional magic damage when attacking one-handed, even without meeting the strength requirements, so don't be afraid to use this in a pinch. A large part of this build is mana regeneration in order to be able to cast spells when you need them. The Crescent upgrade path provides better regeneration as you upgrade, so you'll get more regeneration as you progress the game. Note that you can equip 2 Crescent weapons at once for even more mana recovery, and you can use the Fragrant Ring as well. The idea here is not to hit as hard as possible with every spell you have, but instead make it possible to use a variety of spells and cast them more frequently, relying on melee to deal its share of the damage as well. This build performs much better in body form when PvEing compared with some builds, because there are many rings that work well with this build, and being able to unequip the Cling Ring really helps. This doesn't apply when invading, however, as you cannot invade in body form, and you will need the extra HP from the Cling Ring or you will likely die. In this section, we'll take a look at what equipment you'll need in order to play the Homing Soul Samurai build effectively. Keep in mind that this will likely change some depending on what section of the game you're on, but this should serve to give you some idea of what setups you're looking for. First, let's take a look at early game. At the beginning of the game, you'll want to pick up and equip the Cling Ring as soon as you can to further increase your health in soul form. You'll likely be in soul form a good amount of the time, so this can really help keep you alive. I like to use the old Ragged set with this build, but it requires being a female character to use. You can obtain it by cutting the chain in the Boltarian Palace, and then looting the corpse below. Be sure to unlock Blacksmith Ed in Stonefang Tunnel by activating the lift there so that you can upgrade your Crescent Uchigatana. There are also a ton of Sharpstone in this area, and you will need to gather a bunch in order to upgrade the Uchigatana to +6 before it can become Crescent. I highly recommend killing all the bag miners and looting all the crystal lizards in this area to speed up your upgrading, or you can buy some shards and large shards from the Filthy Merchant if you have the souls. A really good pickup early on is the Crescent Falchion in the Shrine of Storms. It takes almost no time to acquire, and it can give you a strong melee attack that deals magic damage and scales with your magic stat. You should look to get this as soon as you can, as it can really help you out, and you'll likely use it until you can convert your Uchigatana into a Crescent version. Next, you want to loot the Uchigatana from behind the Vanguard Demon. You won't be able to upgrade it to Crescent until it's +6, but you might as well pick it up while you're here anyway. If you don't have the Fragrant Ring, then you should trade the Brass Telescope to Sparkly the Crow in order to gain it while you're here. You'll replace it later, but it's good to have early on in the game. Additionally, there is a Crystal Lizard below Sparkly that drops Moonshade Stone shards, which you will need. Be sure to free Grave Robber Blige from his cell while you're here, because he will sell you Moonshade Stone shards once you reach the Ritual Path, making your upgrading the Crescent Uchigatana a bit easier. You'll need the Copper Key located in one of the towers in order to do this. Once you've defeated Adjudicator, your main objective in this area is to keep progressing forward, farming the Crystal Lizards for Moonshade Stone shards, chunks, and pure Moonshade Stone. This means defeating all 3 bosses, and then killing all the lizards again each time a boss dies. This is the easiest way to get this upgrade material. The lizards drop better materials the further into the Shrine of Storms you go, so just keep going. Once you've gotten your Crescent Uchigatana to +5, it's time to head to the Tower of Latria. The first thing you'll do when you're here is pick up the Wooden Catalyst if you don't already have it, since it does more damage than the Silver Catalyst. This can be found in a cell very early in the level on a corpse. Next, you want to pick up the Ring of Magical Sharpness to further increase your spell damage. It's located in the room with 4 Iron Maidens, so be sure to loot it and replace your Fragrant Ring with it. You'll use this for a large portion of the game. Be sure to defeat the Black Phantom just before the Fool's Idol boss in order to gain the Black Eye Stone, which will allow you to invade other worlds. You can get it from other phantoms as well, but you might as well do it while you're here. Make sure to free Frake from his cell as well while you're in the Prison of Hope, so that you can get Homing Soul Arrow from him later, along with some other strong spells like Soul Ray. The key to his cell is located above the Fool's Idol Fog Gate on the right-hand side. Once you've defeated Fool's Idol, you can talk to Frake in the Nexus in order to acquire the Soul Ray spell, which will help you with Upper Latria, so make sure to get it. A really good item to get here is the Phosphorescent Pole, which increases your mana regeneration while in your hands. It has the highest mana regeneration in the game when fully upgraded at 1 mana per second, which is outstanding. The downside is that it cannot parry and that it needs colorless demon souls in order to upgrade. Note that you must have pure Black World tendency in Latria in order to get this item. You also don't need to meet the requirements of this item to get this benefit. Next, you need to make your way through Upper Latria until you've defeated Maneater and Old Monk. This will allow you to obtain the Homing Soul Arrow spell from Frake in the Nexus, which essentially completes this build. Make sure to invade in the Tower of Latria so that you can be summoned as the Old Monk a time or 3 and acquire the Monk's Head Wrappings, which will further boost your spell damage. Final tips. Homing Soul Arrow can absolutely destroy bosses if you like to co-op, because it has insane burst damage if you can connect with all 5 projectiles. If you wish to co-op, I highly suggest getting the Crisp Blade and upgrading it, because it will further boost your spell damage when doing this. The key to this build is knowing when to use Homing Soul Arrow. The spell can be difficult to use when you're first learning it, because your first instinct is to cast it way early, since it stays with you for 2 minutes. However, what you'll find happens a lot of times when you do this is that the spell fires its projectiles prematurely, often missing the target because you're not close enough. You need to cast Homing Soul Arrow when you are very close to your target, and this goes for PvP as well. In PvP, you want to tempt your opponent into trying to interrupt you while you cast Homing Soul Arrow by being close enough to them. What they don't realize is that if they don't get to you fast enough, even if they hit you, they will likely die unless they kill you in one swing, which is unlikely. Get your spacing down so that they think they can kill you, when in reality they fall into your perfectly executed trap. Use Homing Soul Arrow when you need to go around corners and you suspect an ambush. There are many places in the game that allow hosts to wait for you and then firestorm you to death or what have you, and if you queue up Homing Soul Arrow before rushing in, then sometimes it will save your butt. Not always, but it gives you a fighting chance at least. Just remember that projectiles will disappear if you bump them into walls and whatnot, so try not to do that. Lastly, the Foe's Ring is perfect for this build since it boosts not only attack damage but also spell damage while invading. It can be a pain in the butt to get, but if you plan to really min-max this build, then you'll want to acquire this at some point and swap out the Ring of Magical Sharpness for this instead. This is, of course, if you plan to PvP. Stay tuned for more Demon Souls build guides as we explore just what kind of builds you can make, and be sure to check out our Demon Souls wiki if you have specific questions about the game. As always, you can watch our Demon Souls review and Getting Started guide if you'd like to learn more about Demon Souls Remake.